This is just the stats. Reggie Johnson, Eugene Morton, coming to you from the lovely city of Atlanta, Georgia. And Eugene, this has been an interesting subject, I should say, because we're going to talk about running backs and welcome to our YouTube channel and the show in general. If you're watching on TikTok, listening on Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast, much appreciated for sharing some time with us here. We're going to discuss a little bit about the running back situation. And you know what's crazy about the running backs and pay and importance of this position is just how much it's changed in my lifetime.
Yeah.
To being minimized to a certain degree. And this is something that was similar to centers for a while until you got centers like Jokic and Embiid and stuff like that. But even a center like Jokic in basketball is a center that's playing that has some other characteristics. He has guard characteristics. He can shoot the perimeter shot. He can pass and stuff like that. So even that is something that's changed from what a traditional center is. And with the running backs, if you are for one, the Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb type running backs are almost like dinosaurs at this point.
Right. They're like dying
You don't
breed.
have a lot of guys who like that, who just run you over, guys, Eugene, you know, that we've been kind of used to seeing in life. So recently we had the Saquon Barkley situation is kind of what brought this up, but this has been building. This isn't something that has just happened this year, but I think the Saquon Barkley, Dalvin Cook situations, and even with Jacobs in with the Raiders, you know, trying to get paid. All these guys are being franchised, paid about roughly $10 million. It's interesting because with the Giants in particular, and Austin Eckler, let me add him too, because he's going to really key into this episode. We're going to pull up some stats here soon. And you know, as a matter of fact, maybe we should go to that now. Let's go to some stats now. We'll go ahead and add it to the stream here. So you know what's interesting with the Giants situation in particular is their Saquon Barkley, in my opinion, is their best player. Now, if you're looking here on our stream, and for people who aren't able to watch, I'll go ahead and explain some of these stats for you as I put them on the screen here. Daniel Jones, 8-11 career record without Saquon Barkley. Now, what's interesting about this is not just the record that Daniel Jones has, it's just a correlation between how different he looks in general with Saquon on the field and with Saquon not on the field. It's like almost a different person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So pivotal to your team he is. And yet you can't get this done. Now, some of the evidence I bring up in this episode is, and I would venture to say most of it, is going to be in support of the Giants to a certain degree, because there's just not going to be a lot of evidence that I'm going to present that's going to support paying a running back, because unfortunately, it just doesn't lead to W's. It doesn't lead to long-term success. It doesn't lead to Super Bowl wins. And we'll, towards the end of here, bring up some Super Bowl running backs.
Yep.
And some of those names you're not even going to know. I almost guarantee. You're not even going to know every person on that list. So getting back to the Saquon situation, what are your thoughts on where the Giants stand? I get not giving him like a 5-year deal. Okay, 4 or 5 year deal. All right. Could you giving him like a 3-year? Could you give him a 3-year, 2-year guarantee? Is that crazy? I feel like you could have given him like a 3-year 40. Let's just throw that out there. Let's throw a random number out there. A 3-year 40, 2-year guaranteed.
Okay.
Is that crazy? Like I don't think he's making 10-9 now.
You're right.
I don't think that's something that's too wild. You know, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, he's already turned. I guess. What is he looking for? I know he's already turned down a 14-year. So a 14 guarantee. I think that was a 2 or 3 that guarantee would be. You're right though. The issue is, I know Daniel Jones is gonna be the worst example, but he is an athletic quarterback, and so he could still stretch the field with his legs. And that's the problem now. You're seeing more and more guys come into the league that can stretch the field. You know, they're not going to get you maybe that 10, 15 yards, but if it's 4th and 1 and you've got Daniel Jones, you got a Jalen Hurts back there, those guys can get you the 1 yard that you need. And maybe that's where you come up against paying like a Saquon, but here's the thing with Saquon is he's also a good pass receiving running back. So I I they were successful because of Saquon this year. They were a two-headed monster with Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. So I'm with you. I mean, it's going to be hard to present the evidence, but unless this team isn't making a step forward without him this year,
I
and
agree.
yeah, that's my only argument with it because Daniel Jones did have Saquon could bail him out so many times, either with his legs, handing the ball off of him, or just being on the flat and just catching it out there and creating. And that's the thing I think people are, I understand that, the running backs, but there's so many good ones out there that could catch it at like Saquon can catch it and create and run. And I think the Falcons got lucky with Bijan because Bijan, I think he can definitely be that for us. So, but again, in 4 years, when that, or 5 years after probably, we pick up the option or whatever, are we going to pay him when he's 25? What's that look like? What's that market look like for him?
Well, speaking of which, let's go ahead and look at some of these stats because interesting enough that you bring him up. When you look at the stats here on what running backs are getting paid in general for this upcoming season, Bijan is getting paid the most, 13.7 for Bijan this upcoming season, 12 for Christian McCaffrey, 11 for Alvin Kamara. Christian McCaffrey, Kamara, I think have overall some of the biggest contracts in, and I want to say McCaffrey probably has the biggest. But here's the thing. When you look at this list, so let's look at this list, and I'm going to scroll down here for audience. Bijan Robinson, 1, Christian McCaffrey, 2 at 12, Alvin Kamara at 11. So for one, we don't know what Bijan's even going to be, and this is the anomaly year for them. This is kind of based on where they got drafted as far as the cash that they're being paid. So
right,
this is not like this is what it would be going forward. So you do have some anomalies in here. Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs, those are both players that are going to be paid a lot this year based on where they were drafted. Aaron Jones at 4, 10.9 for him. Nick Chubb is at 5, 10.8. We have Jahmyr Gibbs, 6, 10.7 for him. Derrick Henry at 7, 10.5. And say three-headed monster of Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, and Tony Pollard because they were all franchised. They're at about roughly 10 million. And then it drops down to Fred James Conner at 11 at 8. And we'll just kind of stop there. Actually, let's see here. Let's see if we can go down to Austin Eckler because he's at 6 too. So now there is going to be, I'm going to make a case to pay Austin Eckler. So you stay tuned in for that because I'm going to make a case to pay him. But these other guys, David Montgomery is 6'2", Miles Sanders 6'9". Okay, James Conner 8. It's not I mean, when you look at the teams that were successful making deep postseason runs, you look at Nick Chubb. Let's take him for example. Great running back, right? Especially in your fantasy team. This guy's going to set the world on fire here for you. But here's the problem. Never really leads to success for the Cleveland Browns, right? Like the Cleveland Browns were still Cleveland Browns. They got the 5th highest paid running back, and it did not correlate. Yeah. Aaron Jones, 4th highest paid running back, did not correlate, at least last year.
Right.
Alvin Kamara, 3rd highest paid running back, definitely did not correlate last year. So Christian McCaffrey did pretty good last year, so he was amazing for the 49ers.
Yeah,
so.
And he makes the most sense, right? Because he does all those other things. Not only can he run it, but he can also catch the ball. And I don't think you want him being your quarterback, but they really had no choice at the end of the last year's NFC game, so the NFC title game.
Well, let's go here to looking at the receivers. So Austin Eckler, for what Austin Eckler is getting paid, he gets paid less than whatever. If he was a receiver, he'd be getting paid less than Cedric Wilson and Russell Gage. Okay? Cedric Wilson, Russell Gage. Now, on the screen here, I have the receiver rankings. Now, something peculiar is happening here as we look through our receiver rankings here. We have a guy that's not a receiver as far as receptions that is at number 5 here. So let's look at the top five receivers, or top 10, I should say. Wide receivers last year, based at least on receptions. Justin Jefferson, beast, of course, right?
Right.
Beast. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelsey, and let me get the numbers for the podcast audience. Justin Jefferson, 128 receptions. Tyreek Hill, 119 receptions. Travis Kelsey, 110 receptions. You hit over the 100, you're a good receiver, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Stephon Diggs, 108 receptions. And oh, wait a second. Austin Eckler had 107 receptions. He's not
Nice.
a receiver, right? He's not a receiver. What is he doing on this list? 107 receptions for Austin Eckler. This is where I diverge from not paying a running back. How are you not going to pay a running back that has 107 receptions? What are you paying the receivers? Because a lot of the receivers, let's I don't even know if I can find. Let's find the other guys on this list. Can I find Cedric Wilson and Russell Gage on this list? Scrolling down for the podcast audience here. I don't even know if the list goes that far. Hold on, let me just go to the next page. Let's go to the next page and see if I can find a guy here. We're looking for Cedric Wilson, right? Cedric Wilson and Russell Gage. We're still scrolling.
I'm not seeing him.
Right? We're still scrolling. Let's go to the next page. We're on a third page now for the podcast audience. Third page now. Let's keep scrolling. Cedric Wilson, Russell Gage. Where are you? All right. All right, man. Russell Gage. Okay, we got a Russell Gage sighting. 51. 51. Okay? 51.
Right.
Let's go here. I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to find Cedric Wilson, and I don't even know if Cedric Wilson played all of last year. I think he's coming off an injury. He played with the Cowboys last year. He got traded. I want to say I think he played with the Cowboys last year, and I don't see him. So
yeah,
this is getting kind of sad here, man. We're on page what we're on. I don't know what page I'm on. At least the fourth or fifth page here. Just trying to find how many receptions Cedric Wilson had.
Yeah, now you're getting to the 30s, the receptions, 35 receptions, and yeah, it's getting grim.
It is, right? 107 reception guy can't get paid. He can't get paid. Man. And by the way, in trying to find Cedric Wilson on this list, we've already passed by many running backs.
Yep. Yep, we did.
I can't find him. So we're at 25 receptions now. And I thought he had more than that.
Yeah.
I really do. I don't know if they're just like not deciding not to put him on here. Let's go down 23, 22. Man. I don't see him here. He's not even making an appearance. He's not even making an appearance here on this list. Yeah. Yeah, let me just look it up here, man, because I'm starting to feel bad for the guy. Let's just look up Cedric Wilson last year and see. Let's go Cedric Wilson. Look at his stats for last year. Boom. Stats. Let's scroll here and see. Oh, man, that doesn't look good. Let's keep scrolling down here. Keep scrolling down. I guess we got to go to our Pro Football Reference here. Oh, that's because he had 12.
There you go.
12 receptions. We would have been here all day. I mean, let me apologize to my audience here. We can't just keep scrolling forever. We would have been here all day looking for this.
Yeah. It would have been
12 receptions, 136. Okay. So we go back here to where Austin Eckler's getting paid, which is $6.2 million.
6.2. Mm-hmm.
$6.2 million, right? And let's go to wide receiver here. And let's update this. And let's go to wide receiver here for the audience. And let's see. So I had him at 5th as far as receptions, right? He had 107 receptions. The guy that was directly above him was Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs had 108 receptions, right? And let's go to what his, he's going to get paid.
Have you changed the tab?
$24 million.
I'm still looking at the receiving tab, but nothing's up there. I don't know if you had switched the tab on that one.
Yeah, let me go back here and see if I can switch to where this is at here. Receiving tab. Let's go over to our salary. Let's go back to this tab here then.
There we go.
Let's look at where Stefan is getting paid. 24, almost $20 million more than this man for the podcast audience. And you know what's funny about this is Stefan Diggs was excellent receiver, by the way. And I'm not going to knock the money that he's making here.
No.
Had one more reception than Austin Eckler. Now, Stefan still deserves to be paid more because he had a lot more reception yards than Austin Eckler. That's something that needs to be put into perspective. He has more yards. So that's something that needs to be put into perspective. But at the same time, an $18 million difference for a guy with one more reception than you? An $18 million difference? Is that where we're at? I think Austin Eckler deserves to be paid more money. He deserves to be paid more money. I don't know if that is going to be are we at 13 million dollars more maybe for him? 13 million bucks. I'm not sure what he maybe at least half of what Stefan Diggs is making. Can we get him to 12? That'd be half of a Stefan Diggs for Austin Eckler there. I think there's argument to be made that Austin Eckler should be paid more money. Now, here is where it's really gonna suck for the other guys. And there is not really any evidence here for other guys being paid. Now, you had a kind of the running backs kind of all getting together and all kind of sticking up for each other in a sense. And I think that's pretty cool. You know, your running backs get together. They say, hey, we deserve to be paid. And you got guys like Dalvin Cook, Josh Jacobs, you know, Saquon. They're all kind of like bonding together, you know, they're bonding together in a sense of, I don't know if it's like running back brothership here.
Right.
Here, I don't, because they already have a union, right? The NFLPA represents everybody. I don't know if you can peel out the running back union inside the NFLPA, but at the same time here, Eugene, they're all kind of bonding together here on this. And they're saying, hey, we all deserve to get paid. Now, here's the last stat I'm going to put up on the screen, and it's going to show you why empirical evidence says they probably don't deserve to be paid. Okay, so we have here the last, what is this, roughly 13 years or so here, Eugene, of Super Bowl winning running backs.
Oh.
All right?
Yep.
This list is brutal. If you are a running back yourself, this is where you're going to turn the show off, and you're not even going to want to listen to the rest of this, because this is where it's going to get kind of brutal here. Going back to 2009, when you look at all of the running backs and what they've been paid, no running back going back about roughly 14 years has been paid more than $2.5 million a year. None of them have.
Right.
The last year's Super Bowl winning team, Isaiah Pacheco, and we're just going to go down the list here. Let's go back. Let's go back from 2022 back to 2009 for the podcast audience here. Isaiah Pacheco, Chiefs, $870,000. Cam Akers for the Rams, $890,000. Leonard Fournette for the Buccaneers, $2 million. Damian Williams for the Chiefs, $1 million. Sonny Michel, wow, for the Patriots, $480,000. Woo. LeGarrette Blount for the Eagles. Look at LeGarrette Blount, man. He was on 2 back-to-back winning Super Bowl teams. He's been on a few, but shout out to LeGarrette Blount. LeGarrette Blount for the Eagles, $900,000, 2017. 2016 Patriots, LeGarrette Blount again, $760,000. 2015 Broncos, CJ Anderson, $585,000. 2014 Patriots, LeGarrette Blount, once again, $730,000. 2013 Seahawks, Percy Harvin, 2.5. Percy Harvin, was he a running back? I didn't thought he was a wide receiver.
He was kind of all kind of he could,
and he happens to be the guy that made the 2.5 on this list. So he's really lightweight and anomaly if you really want to.
Yeah, because he's a kick returner, wide receiver. He did it all. He was kind of that all package when he was at Florida too. So yeah, he was kind of that all. He was an all around player. But he probably was their starting running back. I wouldn't be surprised by that.
it's interesting. I mean, look at we got Cordell here doing it right now. 2012 Ravens, Ray Rice, 2 million. 2011 Giants, Ahmad Bradshaw, 1.5. 2010 Packers, James Starks. I know you remember that guy.
Yeah,
Three
had
hundred
his
and
jersey.
twenty thousand dollars. 2009 Saints, Pierre Thomas, $460,000.
Wow,
These are the
wow.
last 14 years of Super Bowl winning teams,
That's
running backs. It does not at all support paying running backs. Now, I I really want to cape for them. You know what I mean? Here, Eugene. Like, I really, man. I'm a pay that man guy. Hey man, pay that man. And we all like saying that, right? Pay the guy because it's not our money.
no.
Pay the man. But if a team is bringing up stuff like this, Eugene, how do they get paid?
I don't know. And then you've had, remember too, that I think what hurts the running backs is you've had two failed big contracts with the Todd Gurley and the Zeke Elliott, right? I mean, those two contracts are
Not helping
not helping your
at all.
case. And then you saw Isaiah for the Chiefs,
Seventh
just
round, I want to say for him.
seventh rounder, ran crazy in the Super Bowl. So you got players like that. And, and Sony Michel played in that really boring Super Bowl, but I think he at least kept the ball moving, right? Or I think he even scored a touchdown in that game. But again, he did just enough to keep the Rams off the field, keep the Patriots on the field. That's what it is. It's going to be, if you have two or three running backs, that you're just going to keep two or three running backs, and just keep drafting young guys until, especially now with the way the league is set up for receivers. I mean, cornerbacks can basically not touch a receiver, and they're going to get a pass interference call pretty much all the time. I mean, it's gotten to that right. So you're gonna take more chances down the field versus versus having running back or paying running back. And yeah, and you saw what was Isaiah did have a great run, but you don't remember Isaiah's run. You remember Patrick Mahomes running down and running down the field,
limping around on one
limping around
leg
the
and
field, and he
sprinting
had
down the
that
field.
right, and he had that long that's pretty much saving drive, and he ran like 30, and it's in the Netflix documentary too, by the way. But
great documentary, quarterback, for people who have not watched it. Excellent.
But yeah, so there's just so many factors that are against paying them, and especially if the quarterbacks are more athletic. Look at the ones coming out next year. Every single one on that list can run, can be, and look at the running back that the Philadelphia had, Miles Sanders. I can't even, did you remember Miles Sanders playing in that game in the Super Bowl?
That's interesting.
So he's already gone. So what they do? Philadelphia just signed like 3 guys for his salary that they showed. It's like they showed Miles Sanders' salary, and they showed every single running back the Philadelphia Eagles signed. His salary, it added up to his salary. It was like 3 or 4 different. I mean, it was just a line. It was just, and that's where you're going to be. Like, I'd rather sign 4 or 5 guys at the minimum, because it's like one of those guys that's got to hit. At least 1 or 2 of those guys are going to hit, and you can give me some production for a couple of games.
What's your thoughts on the Austin Eckler situation? What are your thoughts on him?
I'm the thing with Austin, he's 28. So we always know that
he's got to get it now, bro. Like he's
right.
really, got to, you don't want to go another side of 30 and be a running back looking for
right,
big money,
Yeah, and he's never been like, I've looked at his average. He's had a couple of seasons where he's averaged about 5 yards a carry, but he's a low 4.5 yards a carry guy. So why would I pay that? I mean, yeah, he had some good receptions, but his reception yards were about 6 7
about
yards.
700, about 700.
Yeah. But it's like a 6-yard average, though. I mean, it's nothing to sneeze at, but why would I pay that money for that production when maybe I can find a young guy that gives me that production?
Do you think a young guy gets you 107 receptions? Because when you looked at 107 receptions, that's good enough for 5th in the entire league of all.
No, but maybe
catching the ball.
But maybe, like I said, like the Philadelphia landscape, maybe I pay two guys that can
And
get
get
me
50 receptions apiece.
50 reception apiece that come in those third downs. Maybe I have my ball wrecker guy, my first, second, just my guy that can pound him in the middle. And then for third and fourth downs, I have my receiving running back. That's where you're looking at right now. I mean, if Josh Jacobs can pretty much ran over everybody last year, if that dude can't,
Yes.
I mean, he led the league in rushing yards. He was never a receiving. I mean, let's just face it. Alabama has just never had a receiving running back. That's just not their MO. I'm not knocking Alabama.
And also, let's look at who
their
the person is throwing it to. Maybe if they played on a team with Justin Herbert, they have more receptions,
Right. Yeah, that helps as well too. So, yeah, it just doesn't look good. And here's the thing: they all agree to it. So they all sit down, like the Players Association. They all agree on what the standard is going to be for what the franchise tag is going to be, and for whatever reason, man, running backs are getting phased out. So even Austin, he has kind of the Eric Dickerson kind of season, but that dude can't even get paid.
I feel like there is a way to kind of split the baby here, in my opinion. And I feel like that is going to be done with basically, you can split the baby, in my opinion, by just giving shorter deals. Like you don't have to give the guy like a 4 to 5 year deal. Give him like a 3 year, like I said, a 3-year, 2 guaranteed. Like, I don't think that's crazy. I don't, you commit what, $25-30 million for a guy that's not killing you. And then just see what happens with that better back versus, ones that aren't as great. But I do think that there is something to be said about some of those quarterback teams. And when you're looking at the stats the last stat that I presented, that was pretty damning for paying a running back in the Super Bowl, is like these all had like pretty much Hall of Fame quarterbacks too. Like if you have a Hall of Fame quarterback, of course you don't have to pay your running back, right? Like, okay,
Right.
You have a Hall of Fame guy at quarterback, a one of one almost, especially to Patrick Mahomes, if he's considered to be the best. That helped that you had Patrick Mahomes back there.
Yeah. It's just a little bit of help there.
So I feel like there is a middle ground there. I feel like there's a middle ground there. Evidence doesn't say that you give a running back $60-70 million like you would a wide receiver.
Right.
Evidence says you don't do it. But at the same time, can you give the guy 30? Can you give him half, especially a guy that catches a lot of passes? I don't think that's crazy. And here's a hope in the running backs get it worked out. I think that maybe another thing that they could do is shorten the time before they can get to actual free agency, because what's happening is they're coming out of college and a team can really lock you up for 4 or 5 years or so.
First round, man. So like I said, Bijan, we got him for 4. And then you have that team option
Franchise
for 5.
him?
Well, yeah, you don't even have to franchise them. You just pick up the option for the 5th year.
So you can really lock a guy up 6-7 years, because you can franchise a guy twice, right? So I feel like you can lock him up. So you get a running back, and let's say he comes to the league at what, 21, 22-ish, 21, 22-ish. Let's just say he comes to the league around there. You can lock him up to he's almost 30.
Right.
Before he ever reaches free agency.
Yeah. So
that maybe can be worked on. Maybe that's what they work on for a running back position. Maybe they take that down to where a running back can reach free agency a lot sooner versus having it where a team can lock you up for almost 10 years without ever really giving you a free agent contract.
And increase their free agency tag number. I mean, at least get it up to 15, right? Get them.
Well, it's based on an average. And if the average isn't great, if they're not paying running backs, it's just gonna decrease, because I don't see that average going up. They're paying running backs less and less.
Yeah.
And being based on an average, it doesn't bode well for that franchise tag, man, in the future. But here's the hoping that they do get paid. Definitely appreciate the audience taking some time out here. Check out our YouTube channel. You could also listen to us on Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts. See you next time, guys.